We get an in-depth look at real estate activity in Barnstable County with Register of Deeds Jack Mead. Plus, we'll tell you what meetings are on the docket for today on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, December 9th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mannel. The latest real estate numbers are out for Barnstable County. To find out more, Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin talks with Register of Deeds Jack Mead. We share that interview with you now.
Getting down to the end of the year, taking a look at the numbers from November, and it looks like sales volume and value have risen once again. Give me the overview of what the November looked like in terms of recording statistics.
Well, we had a nice November as compared to a year ago. We were up nearly 16% in the, or over 16% in terms of the volume of activity, and the value of sales was up nearly 16% from the last year. So as a result, our median individual sales value, individual property sales value was up over 6% from a year ago. So it was a nice month.
Absolutely, and looking at 16.6% and 15.8%, those seem like huge numbers. Usually we're looking more in the single digits of increases if we see an increase at all.
Yeah, it was the good-sized bump from a year ago, and I think maybe last November wasn't as strong as we would have liked to have seen. So we saw a rebound from that from a year ago, and we've sort of had this trend where we've had good months as compared to a year ago, and then not reaching the number. So we've been up and down, but we're on an up trail at the moment. It looks like we're going to finish the year with a decent increase over a year ago, with 1 month to go, where the volume of sales overall is up over 3% from a year ago, and the value of sales is only up at 1%. But it's better than going in the other direction. So we seem to be at least slow but steady activity increasing.
Absolutely, and I think as we usually try to say that slow and steady increase is good. It seems like if we do see a major spike, that kind of indicates some concern along the way. So slow and steady, I think, is just good when we're talking about these numbers.
Well, it is, and I mean, and especially I don't like to put too much emphasis on an individual month's activity. I think we see a trend after a few months, and then we can make some more educated guesses about or assessments of what's happening. We've seen this trend of slow and steady improvement occurring over the last few years. Again, no knockout numbers, but we were going the other way, the wrong direction for a while, for a number of years, and we seem to have righted the ship and started at least moving in the positive direction in terms of activity and value. So that's a nice place to be given where we were.
Absolutely. Do we attribute anything at this point to that? Going back to the first numbers we were talking about, the kind of larger jump. Is there anything in particular that we attribute that to? I know you mentioned that last November wasn't as great as it usually is. Anything just off the top of your head that makes you say
no?
This is why?
I think that we have a little more firmness in the market, and that people have a better idea what the value of things is. The properties are, because we've had a few years of steady, as we mentioned, steady numbers, although not spectacular, but solid numbers, and we seem to have slowly working our way out of sort of the foreclosure morass, although we still have some more activity in that area than we'd like to see. But I think the market's been able to find its feet, basically, and we know, and so that's allowed for people to make, and on both sides of the equation, buyers, sellers, and in addition to the lenders being able to make and appraisers make a good level of idea of what the market is, and so that's allowed people to make some sort of educated decisions about their buying.
So it looks like there were 933 mortgages recorded with values above $50,000 in November. How does that compare to previous months?
A nice little increase over a year ago, 12% plus compared to a year ago. And so we've seen our mortgage volume for the year right around there, 15% up from a year ago. So that's part and parcel of it too. I think is that we have people are in a position to be able to refi potentially mortgages that may have had a rate that's a little higher, but now that the property values have settled and they paid off some of that mortgage and they've been able to get in there. And obviously, with the people buying homes, typically there's a mortgage involved. So we're between that and the refi. We're seeing a nice little mortgage market.
Exactly. And I think, as you said, refinance people are starting to have a little bit more confidence in that, bringing some money back to the construction industry, maybe getting some loans to do some renovations on their homes that, of course, in years past, we've been seeing a slow increase in that as well as the economy is coming back. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't seen the building permit numbers, in, say, for Barnstable, but you may have more access to that than I do. But I'm sure, just anecdotally driving around, I see construction occurring and a little more activity, so that's a positive sign.
Indeed, and median sales price seems to be staying pretty steady. In the low 300s. 2014 median sales price was about $322, and 2015 $330,000. Is that a fairly decent median sales price for the region?
I think so. Yeah, we're working our way. We're not. We're still got to have a ways to go before we get to the numbers we were seeing in, say, 2005, 10 years ago. But those numbers we discovered were not realistic, or they didn't hold up. Let me put it that way. And so we went well below 300 for a while. So we're working our way slowly back up over the last few years. So that's in increments of 3, 4, 5%. Which is, I think sustainable. So that's, it's not spectacular, and it's, when you looked at your house, valued in 2005, and maybe you can see it on your assessments. You say, I wish I could get that money for the house now. But I think we're slowly working our way back up.
Yeah, it was just a little inflated just about a decade ago.
Just a touch. You couldn't buy anything.
No.
You couldn't turn around and get anything cheap either. So it was one of those deals. So.
Definitely. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, of course, is foreclosures, and we are unfortunately seeing just a little bit of an uptick in that, but still, again, nowhere near the numbers we were seeing several years ago.
Yeah, I think some of that is long stuff that's been a long time in the pipeline, a mix. I haven't. It's hard to tell, but I think there's been a lot of legal changes in the legal landscape in terms of foreclosures, and I think there was, from what I've been reading, a lot of the ones that were sort of hanging out. The lenders have said we got to do this before they change the law again or whatever. They've got to push the issue to some degree. So I think we're seeing some of that for people who may have been in trouble for a while, and they finally decided to pull the trigger on it. I'm hoping that it's not new stuff, but you never know. It's a mix. From what I've been reading, that they'll trade publications that the mortgage lenders, people who are in trouble. I think in some cases they've been the workout process in Massachusetts, and the time limit on mortgages is from the start of the process to the finish is one of the longest in the country. And so I think we're seeing that sort of catch up when we had a moratorium a few years ago. We're still seeing a catch up.
And there are several board committee and commission meetings this evening. First up, the Old Kings Highway Historic District Committee will meet at 6:30 at the West Barnstable Community Building. The Zoning Board of Appeals will meet at 7 o'clock this evening in the Town Hall hearing room. And the Mid-Cape Cultural Council will also meet at 7. They will be meeting in the Growth Management Conference Room. We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will chat with Airport Manager Bud Brialt. We'll learn more about the Planning Board with Chair Stephen Hellman. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.